If you were here last year, put a note in. If you saw me speak, thanks for coming back a second time. Hopefully, I'm still going to be interesting and exciting. But today, what I want to talk about is a little bit different than maybe some of the other presenters you're going to hear today. I want to talk today about you. And I want to talk about not the ways in which you learn how to code or how you're going to change the world with technology, but I want you to think about you and how are we going to change the world leaning into our strengths and finding our purpose. And that's about leading well to serve others. So I'm really excited to join with you guys today and have a little bit more conversation. I will tell you, my session is going to be one where I'm going to want you to write down some notes. So you probably are already great leaders and you already have paper and a pen, maybe a little journal to take notes today. But if you don't, I want you to grab a piece of paper and a pen because there's a couple things throughout that I'm going to ask you to write down, just kind of have you reflect and think on. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me ask you this question, friends. Let me ask you, do you see yourself as a leader? What are the words that you use to describe yourself to others? And go ahead and throw some of those into the chat, because I sometimes think that when we're thinking about ourselves, we worry a little bit about being too humble with our leadership. Humility is super important, but sometimes it's hard for us to put words around how we would describe ourselves. But hearing how others describe themselves, we can go, yeah, I like that same word. I think that about myself. I love when Allison, I love it. Determined, Rocky, tall. Tall leadership. Okay, let's go a little deeper. Fearless, Mariah, I love fearless. Integrity, Joseph, fantastic. So if I was going to hire you, what would you tell me about yourself? Right? I'm seeing patient, confident, all great things, empathetic, caring. I love it. If my belief is true, and I believe that all of us have unique gifts, and when we use those gifts, we are demonstrating our leadership, then how are you talking about yourself? Because that's really important. Do you believe you're a leader today? Do you believe that you're a good person? Do you believe that you have gifts that other people can learn and benefit from? Let's explore a little bit more about how you talk about yourself. And I love the niceness, all the great things I'm seeing here. But I want us to think a little bit more about that conversation, those stories that we have in our head that we talk to ourselves about. So we're going to talk about mindset. And I'm sure you guys have heard a lot about mindset, especially given the last year with the pandemic. We start thinking about mental health. I'm sure this is not a new concept for you. But as leaders, and I'm going to assume all of you are leaders, because why else would you be here? I don't know that many young people that would choose to come to a conference at 9:30 in the middle of a day to become their best self, to learn how to have skills to make the world a better place, right? So just right off the bat, if you're not putting that name around yourself as a leader, I'm giving you permission to do so now, right? So as leaders, we need to embrace a clear understanding of our mindset to be open to growth and development. And there are plenty of things that you can do to stimulate your curiosity and to kind of feed your mind. Your generation is the first generation to always be on. At any time of the day, you can go look up something, look at something, plug in. You're the first generation to do this. And I know that I'm not the first person to tell you, you need to both guard your heart and your mind when it comes to using technology, right? The convenience of technology has made connections so much easier in so many ways. But at the same time, technology has also dulled our senses in some ways, and it has subjected us to a lot of really negative self-talk. And that kind of negativity creates what we call a fixed mindset. And so what I mean by this is when we talk about the differences between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset, we need to understand kind of like where are we at with our mindset. Sarah, this is a point, if you wouldn't mind, just drop in the chat that link I have for the students to take a look at. There's a resource here. You can look at it now, or you can just kind of like open it and bookmark it and look at it later. It's a free resource to kind of give you an assessment kind of mentally where you're at with embracing new ideas when they're presented to you. So when we talk about a growth mindset and you're approaching your work or your relationships, when we have a growth mindset, meaning I'm really open to learning and developing, I look at success as coming from my efforts, right? So I see that things that I do, success equals the effort that I put in. I can also see a growth mindset as knowing that I can always grow my intelligence. I don't know something now, but I can always learn how to do it. I can always study more. When I have a growth mindset, I can also look at challenges as ways to help me grow and improve. When I have a growth mindset, I look at failure as something that I'm a learning opportunity, right? I look at feedback then as something that helps me grow. And when others succeed, I'm inspired by that. But most importantly, persistence is the thing that helps me overcome obstacles. Now, if I have a fixed mindset, I look at success coming only from talent, meaning I'm either born with that or I can't do it, right? If I have a fixed mindset, I think I'm either smart or I'm done. That's it. If I have a fixed mindset, I look at challenges lead to failure versus challenges help me grow and become my better self. If I have a fixed mindset, if I'm in a place where I'm not being open and willing to learn, I look at failure. If I fail at something, I assume I can't do it. Or even worse, I assume I'm not good enough. Versus looking at something I fail at as, that's an opportunity. I'm never going to do that again. What a great learning. When I have a fixed mindset, when I'm in a really negative space, in a negative place, I look at feedback as an attack on me personally. So someone trying to give me constructive criticism, I look at that as an attack on me personally versus, I received that. I'm not sure I agree with it, but I'm going to grow from this. If I have a fixed mindset, I will always assume that I'll never be as successful as others. I try it once, I didn't do it, so I guess I'm just terrible. I'm a horrible person. And if I have a fixed mindset, I give up because things seem too hard. Because the story I start telling myself is that I'm not good enough. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough education. I don't have enough. That's a fixed mindset. And for us to be leaders, we need to recognize where we're at with that and shift towards that growth mindset. So to think about this a little more, I want us to think about what are your beliefs, okay? What are your beliefs about education? What are your beliefs about health, about your wealth, about your family and your friends? Because our beliefs inform our thoughts. Our thoughts are optional. Beliefs are based on the values and the experiences that we have. So I want you for a moment to think about, what do you believe? What is the core of you? What are your beliefs? Like, do you believe that you will graduate high school? Do you believe you're going to go to college? Or is serving in the armed forces something you believe that you really need to do? Do you believe that you're physically healthy? Do you enjoy exercising? Or do you know how to power and fuel your body so that it can be its best self? Is the idea of exercise a long nap for you, right? Like, what are your beliefs about exercise? What are your beliefs about health? Do you believe that you can earn money to power your dreams? Or do you believe that there's only a certain amount of money in the world and it's already established who's going to get it? Do you believe your family and your friends share your values? Or are they holding you back from your greatness? Danny, I see you there. I believe I will graduate high school and get an associate's degree in art to step into the apprenticeship for tattooing. I love it. It's an incredible big dream. Thank you for getting that started. Guys, if you're listening, I'd love to see some of your dreams, right? In fact, I'm going to give you a moment here. I'm going to ask you to do something for me. I'm going to put on a timer, and I'm going to tell you right now, when I put on the timer, it's loud. I needed one of you very young, bright people to help me with the audio on this, but the volume is like super loud. I can't fix it. So in 30 seconds, I'm going to put up a timer, and I want you to write down as many dreams as you can think of, just in 30 seconds. And these can be dreams about anything. It can be dreams about your education. It can be dreams about your lifestyle. It can be dreams about relationships that you have or that you want to have. It can be dreams about your health, anything. So for 30 seconds, I want you to write down all of your dreams. And I want you to write it because when we do the exercise of actually writing, it triggers our brain into making those dreams real. And so we're going to do that here in just a moment. And if you want to, you can throw them in the chat or you can put them on a piece of paper. So for 30 seconds, we're going to only think about our dreams. All right. I want you to take a deep breath. I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to think about you and what your dreams are. Are you ready? Here goes my timer. It's going to be loud because dreams are big and loud. Here we go. Oh, you guys, I love it, love it, love it, love it. I love so much. I'm reading these and I'm just like, oh, I'm like almost in tears. I love all these dreams I'm seeing. My dream is to go to state for the 4x8. My dream is to get a wife and a cat and have a successful life. I believe I can master art and start animating. I dream to get a master's in psychology. I believe in taking a business class to help manage my finances. All of these are amazing. I love it. Isn't it fun too to see other people's dreams? Doesn't that help inspire you? Right? That's that growth mindset I'm talking about, friends, right? And keep them coming. I believe I'll graduate high school with honors. I will attend one of the top universities, get a degree in elementary education. I plan to get my master's degree in education as well. I want to have a PhD in education. I want to travel the world and be an activist. Nicole, drop the mic. Girl, this is amazing. I love it. I love it so much. So understanding our dreams is so important, right? So I want to take this just a little bit farther, okay? Let's explore a little bit more about what our gifts are. Because when I talk about gifts, I want you to think about all the things that you know that you're good at, all right? And so maybe you listen like really well, right? People come to you all the time to share the tea or to get your advice. Maybe you're awesome at solving problems, right? And you love math. Maybe you're really good at reading directions and you're able to build things quickly. This is not one of my gifts, right? Like Legos tire me out. I had IKEA furniture I had to put together. I gave it to my 12-year-old to do because that's just not one of my gifts, right? But it's one of his, right? So what are your gifts? Maybe you have gifts like this. Maybe you're a great public speaker, right? And you love to talk in front of people. Right now, same exercise. I want you to write down a list of gifts that you have, right? So we've talked about our beliefs. Now I want you to think about what are the things that you're good at. I'm going to set the timer again. We're going to do for 30 seconds. I want you to pile into this chat and I want you to tell me all the things that you're good at. Or if you want to write it privately, do that too, okay? 30 seconds of all the things that you're good at. What are your gifts? Here we go. Good at art, I love it. Good at math. Good people development. Yes. Love it. Love it. Okay. I am so excited with all these gifts. And I love that you're claiming it. I'm good at solving math and equations. I have a good imagination. I'm good at finding a balance and middle ground. I'm good at finding the good ideas in an idea. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. So leaving here today, I hope you're getting some clear direction on what you dream of and how you might accomplish those dreams by being uniquely you. Every single one of us is unique. And there is something within inside us, some skill, some gift that we have that will be needed by somebody else in the world, right? So you might be asking yourself, like, how do I know if the things that I'm good at are actually a gift, right? The test that I like to use is you need to use your gifts, and in a growth mindset, you embrace that, right? And so when that thing you do brings you joy and other people affirm it, other people tell you, you're really good at this, that's a gift, right? That's a gift. And those gifts that you have are to be used for good purpose, right? So for the purpose specifically of serving others, right? So if it brings you joy to cook and other people tell you you're a really great cook, or I feel so good after I eat your food, that's a gift. If it brings you joy to sit and listen to somebody and just patiently, stand by them, maybe even hold their hand, and then someone says to you, you're a great listener, I feel like I can tell you everything. That's a gift, right? Sometimes we're good at things, but they don't actually give us joy, right? Like I might be really good at organizing things, but if that doesn't get me excited, I'm just good at that. That's like a skill. And we can learn skills. Skills are super important. But I want you to think about you, uniquely you. What are you good at? And how does that bring you joy? And how can you then serve somebody else with that same joy, right? That's what makes us leaders. That's what makes us leaders. All right. So is this making sense, friends? Is it making sense? Do you see how you may be impeding your leadership by not understanding and embracing a growth mindset? All of you guys have been super, super positive, and I love that. But I also know it's hard. There's a lot of things that get in our way. There are things that challenges that we experience that kind of make us forget that learning and development is what's going to make me better, make me my best self. Sometimes it's easy to get stuck in that negative self-talk or feeling like an imposter, like, who do I think I am, right? Like, I know that that's reality. I face that. I face it with people I work with. I face it with my kids. Like, there are times when we just need to lift one another up and be reminded of those gifts, right? So getting right with our own intention, our own mindset can help us as we think about communicating more effectively, right? And so when we're in conflict situations, that I believe is when leadership can really shine. That's when our character can kind of come through on how we deal with and manage conflict. So I want us to think a little bit more about, I've got these dreams and I have these beliefs about them. This is what I know about myself. This is what I'm good at. And then something happens, right? And there's a conflict. And then what do we do in that situation? How can we still lead well and serve others when things don't go our way or when things make us angry, right? So let's talk a little bit about that. So I want you right now, and I don't want you to write this in the chat. This is just for you. I want you to think about the last conflict that you were in with someone, okay? Maybe someone you got into it with. Maybe it's a sibling, right? Maybe it was your mom or your dad. Maybe it was a teacher. Whatever that situation is, I want you to put yourself back in that situation, and I want you to think about, how did you show up, right? Were you angry and raging and oh my gosh, whatever, oh my goodness, right? Or were you like, no, I'm fine. No, it's fine. Really, it's fine. Like, were you submissive and like just, putting it off? In arguments or in conflict situations, we need to ask ourselves, how have I contributed to the misunderstanding in this situation, right? We can do that by looking at how we respond to others. Okay, so again, thinking about that conflict situation, how you showed up, I want you to think about, what were your beliefs about that person? What were your beliefs about that situation? So imagine if the next time we had an argument with someone, or we got into a fight with a loved one, instead of wallowing in all these negative thoughts, so she's so toxic, oh my gosh, she never listens to me anyway, whatever those things are. So instead of wallowing in all those negative thoughts, we embrace a growth mindset, right? And we focused on gratitude instead. After today, I hope that you're thinking and acting in ways that lead you to a future of success in being your best self. Bad things happen, and they're going to continue to happen. I don't think I'm the first one to tell you that. I hope I'm not bringing you down and being like Debbie Downer, but it's true. And this last year has demonstrated that there's no end to the amount of bad things that can happen. In fact, today, my husband actually has COVID, and how we manage that, my children, and how we manage that in our household and how we do work, all of those things, it continues to be a problem. But if we pause, right, we think about conflict, and we think about how we're feeling, and we ask ourselves, what control do I have in the situation? How have I contributed to this, right? We know that we are always in control of how we respond, right? And more importantly, how we make others feel. We are always in control of how we respond and then ultimately how we make other people feel. So when we choose to focus on gratitude, when we choose to serve others, choosing to be grateful instead of hateful, right? It's how we learn to lean into our gifts and our strengths. And when we lean into our gifts and our strengths, we're leading well. Danny, thank you so much. I appreciate that. He is on the mend. You're so sweet to ask about my husband. Yes, he is getting better. Thank you. So again, I want us to be thinking about conflict, and specifically for you. Again, I want you to focus on you. What happens to you? What triggers you when you get upset, right? Something doesn't go your way. You get into a fight with your brother or your sister. You get into a fight with your parent, maybe with a teacher. You get really angry because you feel like you're being treated unfairly, right? So what happens to us when we get triggered? All right. What occurs in conflict, right? Here's like a very simple model, is that a situation occurs and we have an automatic thought about what just happened. And often we respond in a very destructive way, right? So example, you might be sitting in class sharing an example of something, and a peer interrupts you like, guys, we should play COD all night and pull an all-nighter, like right in the middle of your big moment, right? And you may feel conflict because you were interrupted and you didn't get to finish your thought, right? And your automatic thought might be, who do you think you are to interrupt me? Why do you feel the need to bust in and talk about COD right now, right? Or you might be thinking like, why does everything always need to be about you, right? So as a result of that, we have that thought and then we respond in a destructive way. So we may choose to belittle that person, right? And respond like, why do you always feel the need to butt in? Not demonstrating great leadership, right? Or, we may respond with some like overly dramatic joke, like, can we get back to the real work here? Thank you for interrupting, right? That's not how we're honoring this person who was rude and interrupted us, right? But we think about elevating ourselves, being our best self, leading well, and serving others. We can think about situations on how we respond a little bit differently. So when I think about conflict and we think about things that show up, this is a list of destructive responses that we often go towards in conflict situations. So take a look at this, and I would love it if you would in the chat, write down the ones that you know that you do, right? So if somebody ticks you off in a conflict situation, if you're like, I need to defend myself now, which one of these do you do most often? If one of these, if you don't understand what it is, put it in the chat too, and I'll respond to that here in just a second. So if we take a moment, okay, and we think about situations where we get into a conflict and we showed up poorly, right? We can probably trace it back to one of these things that we did, one of these destructive responses. I know for me, I can pick out quite a few of these that I do on a regular basis. When I'm mad, when someone pisses me off, like, the beautiful thing about me when you're friends with me is that you know how I feel, right? Because it shows on my face. I have a terrible poker face. If I am happy, you know that I'm happy. If I'm pissed, you know that I'm pissed. I do not have a good hide it face, right? Right? And so I found it helpful when I look at these, like, okay, that's how I respond. And I don't want to show up like that, right? I don't want to show up as someone that dismisses other people's opinions. I don't want to show up as someone that leaves other people out, right? So I'm reading what you guys put here: stonewalling, overpowering, passive aggressive, gossiping. Gossiping is like one of mine, girl. I'll tell you what, if you make me mad, then I'm going to go around and talk about how everyone else, like, isn't that so wrong that she did that? Can you believe that she did? Instead of being like, hey, you made me feel bad, right? I go and check with everyone else to make sure it's valid that I'm mad, right? I don't need to do that. I just need to own my truth, right? Like what you said pissed me off. That hurt my feelings, and just say it, right? Arguing, being defensive. I love it. I don't love that we act that way, but I love that you guys are in touch with that, right? Okay. So as we think about these different kinds of destructive responses, I want to go back to how we can change that, right? So if we know ourselves well, we know our strengths, we know when we're kind of in that good energy flow and something happens that we're not expecting and we start to feel like we're going to respond in this way, how can we pause and reframe that, right? And so, as leaders, again, embracing this growth mindset and changing how we respond to conflict, we believe we can improve our skills. If we believe mistakes lead to improvements in how we lead, then we can take the same idea with conflict, right? If I have a growth mindset that I can always be learning, then I can look at a conflict situation and say, there's an opportunity for me to lead here. One of the best things I tell folks is when someone says something to you that you don't agree with, that's okay. It's not okay to just shut people down, right? And what I say is, I hear you, I do not accept, right? Or I hear you and thank you. I'm not ready to respond, right? Acknowledging is enough, right? So in a conflict situation, we need to recognize what are those automatic thoughts that we have, right? And then we can pause and reframe with a more productive type of response. So let me give an example. Let me go back to the example I talked about with someone interrupting you in class and how we can see this kind of change, right? So you may be sitting in class, right, and sharing, and then somebody interrupts you. Guys, we should play COD and pull an all-nighter, like right in the middle of like your big moment that you're going to share, right? And your automatic thought might be, rude, she's not paying attention to me, right? That might be your automatic thought. And instead of saying something like, you're so rude, or nobody likes you, shut up, or whatever that thought might be, we might think that thought, but before we respond, we pause. And instead we change our mindset to, okay, she likes to contribute her ideas, right? That's a more gratitude focus, not a hateful response, a gracious response, right? Another way we might think about that, it's natural for people in class to speak up when they have an idea. This isn't about me, right? People are encouraged to talk, so they just found this moment to do that. Another way we can think about that is, well, she's easily distracted and needs some attention, right? Another way that we can look at that is, I was interrupted, but I'm still included in the plans. I can finish in just a moment, right? So instead of making that rude, biting remark that might humiliate or hurt somebody else, even though we're hurting, hurt people hurt people. And as leaders, we need to elevate and be better than that, right? When we're hurt, we need to just pause and recognize what's happening and kind of change our mindset, okay? So when a conflict happens, like you're getting interrupted in class, acknowledging you're going to have an automatic thought and that you might not be nice, that is okay, all right? How you respond is how you demonstrate your leadership. And choosing to pause and then respond in a productive way is this practice that will allow you to serve others. And I won't lie, doing this is a lot easier said than done. And there's this great misconception that's hard to believe that we're the only ones that are ever struggling, right? The only ones who feel sad, the only ones that feel confused and anxious. And when we start believing this, we tend to isolate ourselves from our friends and our family because we feel alone. We make selfish choices. When we isolate ourselves, we're tempted every single day to act selfishly, to act in self-serving ways. We see advertisement and commercials, movies and TV shows that constantly show us we're not good enough, right? We think by posting photos and live streaming on Instagram or Facebook or snapping, right, that we're connecting, but we're not. We're not. Many times these posts are very self-serving and bragging about what you got to do and where you got to go and how you got to do that. When you like and love and comment on all those things, that's not showing respect or love or gratitude, right? You're simply just trying to make believe you're cool or you're trying to be someone. And just stop trying to be someone and just be someone, right? Each of us is worthy and called to serving others and leading well. And rather than looking to social media to fulfill a need for connection and belonging, I challenge you to actually connect with another person. So right now, I want you to think about 5 adults in your life that have your best interest in mind. Pull out your phone, write down your contacts, right? I want you to scroll through, find 5 adults that have your best interest in mind. And I say adults because they have lived a similar experience and they have wisdom that you just don't have right now. Every adult has had similar experiences to where you are right now. And we all need people who have wisdom to experience different than us to allow us to be our best selves. If you have more than 5, awesome. You can't come up with 5, then let's talk about people that are in your life that you might not be thinking about, right? I want you to look at how we started our session, looking at that list of where you came up with your big dreams, right? And where are your gifts? And what do you believe about yourself? Where could you use a little bit of guidance and support right now in your life? Is it in school? Is it trying to figure out what college, if that's the next step? Identify a teacher or a counselor or a dean that can help you. Do you need support to make healthy choices and exercise? Do you need encouragement to move your body? Go talk to a nurse or a doctor. Go to the YMCA or a gym and speak with like a personal trainer. You could even look at a teacher who maybe serves as a coach, right? Do you struggle to find friends and accept you for who you are? Do you feel like you get pressured to act and do things like that go against your values and that are your beliefs? Then seek out a new friend. Talk to someone that you see as kind and a friend to others. If you're a spiritual person, seek out a youth minister or a priest or a pastor and share with them how you're feeling and how you're isolated and alone and you need connection. These people will listen to you and help you in ways to see yourself in the very best way. And so to wrap up our time together, I want you to do a few things for me. I love that I'm seeing all these comments. I love these comments you're putting in there. Thank you for that, guys. I'm going to jump into the Q&A in just a moment, and I want you to dive deeper into any questions that you might have, but I want you to share what spoke to you most today, right? What was it that spoke to you most today about what I shared? And go ahead and put that in the chat. And I also want you to send a text to those people, those 5 people, those 5 adults in your life. I want you to send them a text right now. And I just want you to text them, thank you, you matter to me. That's it. This small, simple action is a way in which you can show gratitude and give back. It's how you can serve others today. And I think you'll find that each one of these adults will reply and share back that you made their day, right? And what better way to use your gifts than by connecting with others and leading with love, right? If you're feeling really brave, I want you to share with one of those people something that you're struggling with, right? And we grow closer by connection. We don't learn best by all the positive, wonderful things that someone has to say. We get inspired by that. We learn best by mistakes. Be brave enough to ask for help and keep your mindset open to receiving love and advice from others. When you do that, you are leading well and serving others. Thank you so much for your time, friends. I'm going to be on for a few minutes if you want to ask any questions in the chat. I hope you have a great day. It's truly been a blessing for me to be with you today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.